Well, hey, everybody. This is Connor here with Bourne Financial Coaching and the Bourne Financial Coaching Show, where we get to talk about just some real life money stuff. And today, one of the things that I want to talk about is something that is near and dear to a lot of folks, and that's debt. And not just debt, please don't consider this another podcast or YouTube episode where I read all the stats about all the debt that people are in, which, at the time of this recording, there's a lot out there. When you add up student loans and credit cards and mortgages, things like that. But as opposed to dwelling on maybe not the decisions that you wanted to make, or maybe the decisions that you felt you had to make, and you look up and you say, man, here I am. No, what I want to do is focus on three potential strategies that you could use to help order your debt. And as you are paying them down, be able to see the progress needed in order to not just successfully pay them off, which can be a task in and of itself, but to pay it off even quicker and faster than anticipated. So, we're going to review maybe a few terms you've heard before, such as debt snowball and debt avalanche. But what I'm going to do also is share with you one potential strategy that I like to call the debt mountain climber that can really help get you on the right track to actually finishing the debt payoff. There's a lot of financial coach type folks out there that wholeheartedly acknowledge that it's the most important part of your debt payoff plan is to pick the plan that's going to help you pay off the debt. It can be a large burden, and it can be easy to get discouraged and quit and move on to something else. I don't want to see that happen, so that's why I want to have this little chat. So, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so here we are on our document here as we get to write, some of these different debt payoff strategies and how they can help. So the first one that you might be really familiar with, it's called the debt snowball. Okay, and in this debt snowball method, it's all about building momentum. Okay, so we're going to type this right alongside here and go momentum. Okay, so here's how your debt snowball works. And really, for all of the strategies that we're going to be talking about today, it's really about the way in which you order paying your debts, and then taking one payment and lumping that into the next one, so on and so on. So really, it's sort of the secret sauce, if you will, is the strategy in which you decide to order the debts that you're paying down. So with debt snowball, what you do is you line up all of your debts from smallest balance to largest balance. So I'm going to type in smallest balance to largest. Okay. And we're going to ignore that interest rate for now. You make the minimum payments on everything, but you throw any extra money you can at the smallest balance first. Let me make sure I spell balance right. There we go. It's at least being recorded in one take when gotta fix that on the fly. But so what you're gonna do is any extra money you can with this debt snowball goes towards smallest balance. And that's where, you might have heard potentially some financial folks out there talk about different ways to generate that extra little boost to help you at the beginning, right? Because want to go back to the debt snowball being all about momentum. Once you have paid off that smallest debt, once first is gone, you roll what you were paying into the next smallest. Once first is gone, roll into next smallest, and so on. So why do people like this method? It's psychologically motivating. That's why a lot of folks really love to gravitate towards this debt snowball. Seeing a balance drop to zero, even a small one, can give you the motivation to keep going. Me personally, I'm a big to-do list guy. So when I get to cross off each thing on the to-do list, I feel a little bit more momentum and I feel like I'm accomplishing things. Um, and one of the nice things when you get to add not just your self-discipline in ordering those debts, but when you get to add working with the financial planner, we get to provide you kind of that second opinion, and just really help you make sure you just turn over every stone when it when it comes to creating that budget that's going to free up any extra cash. Um, you know, and this, what we can also do as financial planners is help make sure that this method fits into your bigger financial picture, right? So we could be the ones to maybe at least have that conversation about, hey, do we need to pause the emergency fund, right? Do we keep going on the emergency fund and really kind of follow the baby steps? And once we hit that $1,000, then we work on debt payoff, right? Because the $1,000 is really just for those small kind of couple of $100 type emergencies. So with this debt snowball, it's all about balance and momentum. And this is going to bring me here into number two. Number two here is the debt avalanche. Yahoo. And this one, it's really based on math, right? Debt snowballs momentum, debt avalanche. Debt avalanche is math. Let's underline it because, we'll keep it the same. So, yet again, as I mentioned earlier, all of these methods it's really all about how we're going to order paying off our debt. So with the debt avalanche, what you're going to do is list your debts in order from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Okay. You're going to continue to pay minimums on all debts, but throw the extra money at the one with the highest interest rate. Extra money goes towards highest. So on and so on and so on. So on and so on. Truly, and even folks that are proponents of the debt snowball, they have to acknowledge that the math works out 100% of the time when you follow the debt avalanche. You're always going to be saving the most on interest when you do the debt avalanche, especially as, in relation to the debt snowball. What people who are proponents of the debt avalanche, when they say, yes, you will always save the most on interest, the people who are fans of the debt snowball say, yes, but the psychological element is so much more important. Most of the people who start off on the debt snowball or more than a lot of the other plans actually finish their snowball. So you're actually accomplishing what you're trying to do. If you feel like you are really self-disciplined, the avalanche might be, something that you might gravitate a little bit more towards. But, when you have this honest assessment of yourself and you say, hey, I could really benefit from some quick wins, just even feeling like I'm having some of those quick wins, the snowball might be the way to go. Um, and the other piece that kind of helps as a planner, as it relates to this debt avalanche and how we can help, we can model and we can truly show you how much interest you will save with this approach. And that we can really get to show and take all of those extra dollars and be able to, you know, model that out over time. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but we at least get to start to have that idea with that extra money. And yet again, we can have that conversation to help you understand where you even put that extra interest. Help you decide where to save those dollars, right? So that's going to be kind of the big places where us as financial planners can come in as you are utilizing the debt avalanche payoff method. And number 3 here, this is one that I really like, and this is the third approach that really does resonate with a lot of people, and it is the debt mountain climber. Okay. This strategy doesn't necessarily start with the smallest balance or the highest interest rate. Instead, it begins with the debt that feels like it's the steepest mountain, the one that feels emotionally or mentally overwhelming. So, where a debt snowball, we had momentum, debt avalanche, we had math, debt mountain climber, we have mind. Because, maybe it's a credit card tied to a difficult season in life. Maybe it's a personal loan that you've carried longer than expected, or simply the debt that causes the most stress every time you see the balance. The idea is to start with the debt that feels most challenging. And I'm just going to write this here so we can make sure it's memorialized here on some paper. Start with the climb that feels most challenging, because reaching the summit of that first mountain often brings the greatest relief and renewed energy for the journey ahead. This approach blends both psychology and practicality. While it might not be the fastest or most mathematically efficient path, it can be the most personally motivating one. Here's where the financial planner comes in. We help you not just assess the numbers, but the emotional weight behind those numbers. From there, we build the strategy that balances your finances and your mindset, keeping your long-term goals in sight. So there you have it. 3 strategies with 3 strengths. The debt snowball is all about momentum, getting those first quick wins. The debt avalanche is all about saving money on interest. And the debt mountain climber is all about picking that first climb or debt payoff that is going to give you the biggest emotional win and help get you in the mindset to finish and complete your debt payoff plan. There's no universally perfect approach. It's all about finding the strategy that suits you best to help ensure that it's going to be the one that you actually complete. If you're unsure where to start or just want a second opinion and have a conversation with somebody to maybe help provide some thoughts as to what might resonate best with you, please reach out and schedule some time to chat through a consultation or appointment. And you can do that through my website at bournefinancialcoaching.com. Thanks so much for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this and found this valuable. Looking forward to next time. This has been Connor Bourne with Bourne Financial Coaching. Connor is an independent investment advisor representative affiliated with Registered Investment Advisor Strategic Blueprint. Everything that was discussed today on the financial front are principles that can be applied to certain circumstances. These circumstances may or may not be your own. Therefore, please do not consider this individual advice because I don't know your personal circumstances. If you would like to receive some personal advice, please reach out through my social media accounts at Bourne Financial Coaching or send me an email at cbourne@bournefinancialcoaching.com. Thanks.